All right. So you have an example between Gelfand and Dominguez Perez. So Gelfand is the Russian Israeli and Dominguez Perez, Cuban American play grandmasters, both super strong GMs. And so we have an example where black is pretty well coordinated. White's trying to figure it out, but a little bit, a little bit lacking coordination, especially after bishop to b3. Attacking the rook. Rook has to move away, get kind of cramped in there. And then rook a8. So here we're actually seeing really nice coordination by black, right? Rooks are well placed, half open e-file supporting the pawn. Theoretically, that's a weak pawn on d4. We can't really get to it right now, so it's fine. Practically speaking, it's fine. Bishop is super strong in that weak point, a hole on b3, stopping, as we said, stopping the rook from being on d1. Everything's fine. I mean, white's pieces are, well, you might say they're aimless, but there actually is one point where white would like to strike based on the current development. He has to maneuver a little bit, but what would that point be? Let's think about that, because we do want to coordinate around a weak point. We also just want to make sure we're not tangled up. So we're a little tangled here. Okay, so what do you think white did? What do you guys think? And if you're watching the video, you could just pause it. What do you think white did to improve his coordination? He began with h4 after this. He begins with h4. This is actually tied to what he does. Grabbing some dark squares, grabbing some space, right? Rook d7. Now, what do you think he did next? What did Gelfand do in order to kind of alleviate this burden in a tied up situation? Think about that.
I'm sort of moved to maybe let out that bishop,
Which bishop?
the one that's behind the one on g2.
Right. Actually, I was looking at it. He didn't do that, but the computer actually, I think that's the computer's recommendation. The move that actually happened in the game combined with that move. Yeah. I mean, it's very tempting, right? And it's just
Yeah.
like going to improve it. Actually, getting to that, well, think about if you guys see anything else, but getting to this, I mentioned the weak point potentially. Well, there's g4. There's another point that we can target. Okay, so it does have to do with what you just mentioned with the bishop. Bishop h3, it may come in handy tactically too to kind of take away rook's moves. Other than that, it's not going to do that much
That's
necessarily,
kind of
right?
air. But what if
Right.
he
Looking at
brought your
what
knight?
about on g2?
Yeah, I like him on g2. I was thinking some kind of knight move, like to try to, I don't know where exactly, maybe it's too much maneuvering, I think, like some kind
No,
of
no, that's what we're looking for. Yeah. What do you think? What
like
was your inclination?
knight h2, some kind of knight g4. I don't know,
You
something
want the
like
purpose? Yeah, yeah. You want to purposely maneuver in order to enhance your coordination to further that. But by moving the knight, what are we doing there?
then we open up the other bishop too. Well, he's already open. Never
Which can achieve what? Well, we're going to work on, yeah, we got to work on everything. That's the
mind.
cool thing about this maneuver. And again, it begins with h4. It's almost like a cascade effect, but it's going to help everything. It's it ends up being a draw. But like you see, he could lose this game if he gets outplayed. Well, he is Gelfand, but he could get outplayed. It is actually lower rated here, right? But he was among the strongest in 2019, around more closer to 2000, I think, 90s, around 2000. He was among the strongest. But anyway, he's in trouble a little bit. He's a little worse, probably. Black's more comfortable. So he finds a way to untangle his pieces involving a knight move, improving the bishops, and also finally letting the rook. I mean, the rook isn't that happy on e1, right? Unless you're going to open things.
Okay.
When you go e3, you can probably bypass and stuff or open up the d file. So anyway, the bishop on g2, think about that piece. Let's begin with that. What can it do if the knight moves? And then we'll figure out, okay, what does it actually do? Because as you said, it's like, what's it doing, right? From h2, it's not going to go anywhere from g4
Right.
because it
Yeah.
can't come here or something. But we'll
Yeah.
think about the knight. Think about where the knight can go. Think about, well, what would happen to the bishop if it opened?
Well, he could win a pawn.
Right. We have a target on c6, basically, or b7 behind it. Well, effectively, be getting b7, right? If you were to, hey, maybe you can even go like rook takes, pawn takes,
Oh,
then
it's
bishop.
even better. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just going to trade more pieces, basically. Yeah, and trade a rook for the bishop after. Well, yeah, it'll trade off more pieces. Yeah. So yeah, we can do that too. But we would
Okay.
win the pawn. It is a nice bishop. We would win the pawn. We can hope to mobilize the knight. Hey, maybe you can like a knight e1 d3. That's actually pretty. I did that against an IM once. Got my knight on d3. It worked out well. Blockade the pawn. Pressure on the c file and all that good stuff. And that came into c5, b4. So anyway, you might do that. Very common. Kind of like if the pawn's on d5, the iso line will get blockaded by knight d4. Hey, move to d4, but you could still blockade on d3. Anyway, so we have the pressure on the diagonal. So c6 point. Now, so we want to move the knight, but we also want to improve all those pieces. The rook's fine, the bishop on g2 is fine. It could go to h3, that's fine, no problem there. We can easily deal with that. We are dealing with the e1 rook, d2 bishop, f3 knight. How do we begin? And again, the hint is it's actually attached this very deep move. I really like this move h4. This begins the whole process. Why? What do you guys think the move might be?
Hmm. Don't tell me he's going like G1, H3.
Actually, that's interesting. G1, H3, F4.
Yeah.
Well, then, well, how does H4 fit in potentially then?
I'm sorry. Wait, G1,
How,
H3, F4. F4, sorry.
right, how does it? No, yeah. How does this pawn?
Yeah, I have no
No, the
clue.
H4 pawn does it play a role maybe if
No,
you're
you're
near?
right, right.
No. I'm not saying it doesn't. How would it play? Maybe it does. Does it
Uh,
anticipate G5? Right?
and then I get to block your guy. I could go to D3 even.
Yeah. You can go over here, but also that, and then they have to worry about the weakness. G5 is gonna get hit in many cases. So yeah, that can be really problematic for them. But here's the other thing. You're not even going to let them really play. I mean, in that case, they can probably go G5 trade, like play F6 or whatever, or G4. The other game, funny enough, let's go back for a second before we started the video. It's just funny that remember the 17th, where was it? On the 17th move, it was the exact same game that transposed. And funny enough, remember this one, H6 and black draws, F6 and black loses
Mm,
in the Caro versus Carlstedt game. So 25th, that was played first, where black lost. Then they drew, black went H6. That's funny, right?
yeah.
Let's go back though. So now the bishop got kicked away. It tucks back. It's all very well orchestrated. Well, he didn't get hit by G5 then. Now, again, if he gets hit, he's going to get more tangled. He finds a really nice way. So you're going to H4 stopping G5 effectively. Well, if he goes F6 now, you just play H5, right? No more G5. You just take on passant, and that's bad. Well, not. I mean, you're not really. You might lose the pawn. You might get the pawn back. Maybe not. I mean, but even if they get it back, this is ugly pawns here, right?
Yeah.
H4 is bad. But yeah, then I worry about this one. Maybe your rook will end up getting on H1 and the bishop moves and whatnot. It's bad. So anyway, rook D7, bishop F4. Oh, sorry, I didn't move.
That's okay. That's okay.
But why? You see how it's tied to H4.
So
So
he can't
this
get
is the
kicked.
why, okay, but now we ended up getting to the move, right? Why this move?
That's pretty good. Okay, so he can't get kicked away from like by G5 or
Right, we don't have G5 now, so that's probably why he didn't go there right away, because then you wouldn't get the whole formation that you want. Well, it begins with bishop F4. Okay, now what's coming next? Then it feeds into your idea of which maneuver.
oof.
Again,
Okay.
at first you're like, oh, I think this maneuver is not going to work, but now we have another way we can maneuver, which would be directly, following attributable to this move.
Okay, so uh I don't know which one to say.
John, you have an idea? Which piece next? Oh,
Uh
sorry, they went here. But what's coming? Yeah, it
oh,
doesn't really
okay.
matter. But this is our
Oh,
overall plan. But this is what Black did do.
oh, okay. If they do that, then
But even without this, no, you know what? Even without this, think about it now, because this was already his thought before Bishop D5. So it's fine. Look at it here. What's coming next?
the knight move.
Knight move to
Now I'm thinking,
B2.
yeah,
D. Yes. So this is the whole coordination plan. So we reorganize our pieces.
so much more
H4.
simple than the weird
No,
little
but you begin searching. You're like, it's a good thinking process. You're like, I want to move my knight. That's not good. That's not good. But like, well, I also want to bring out my bishop,
mm,
especially because it gets out. I'm like, oh, and then I have a clearance for that knight to come to. So I need to play H4 to get there and not be bothered. And then I can go to D2. Yeah, again, otherwise you're like kind of trapped, right? With G5, you're going to move the knight back. So you make everything work. And the cool thing is it helps you further coordinate, because when you, by sort of, well, not really hitting that, because the bishop does go to D5, as we know, right? So, but when you go there, you do force the bishop away, and the bishop is a nuisance because it stops rook D1. So you see how this could be a whole organization plan. It's really brilliant, right? Oh,
yes.
yeah, plug it in. So we have the idea of knight D2, and then we can trade bishops. We also go knight C4 if we want. And yeah, there's another interesting line you had, Nikki. But I guess given that you want to come there in one move, but you could do the whole reroute. But we're doing this quickly, right? It's
Right.
just a little bit quicker. But your idea of two of coming to D3 would have been good. I don't know if there's another way. No, it'll take a while. But anyway, we come to C4 and then we get a rook. We can do rook E to D1 most likely. We can always double rooks to cover. You can cover E2 just in case, some pressure. Double rooks. You can always play rook D2, double up, hit this point. So we begin to see though, bishop D5 happens. So he does trade off the bishop. Rook D5 happened. I'm not sure about that, why he did that. Maybe for G5. Yeah, he did do G5. So knight C4. But hey, he just moved in time. So now he doesn't get his, because he would have gotten a bishop trap with G5. That's what he's threatening.
Mm.
See, takes it all away. So the knight C4 gives him space. Here we go again, back to D2, right? But now we're at knight. We're back on D2 with an improved knight. And we've traded off the bishop for what's
Look at
worth.
that
But by
H
doing,
file.
yeah, you can use the H file now. But
And maybe it's not gonna happen, but
I
let's see.
mean, you can still see that black is doing pretty well. But they're not, you can't really say they're better, but they do have space. I mean, but look at this pawn, it blocks the bishop. It's pretty bad bishop. You might take and double the pawns. Your bishop will be pretty nice. You got pressure here. And maybe you like start pressure on the file. You might have king F3, maybe F. No, you can't do that. If you take on B6, then you can maybe go F3 king in here and then cover, but backward pawn. It's still, as I said, I'm like, black still has some stuff for sure. But it's better than it was, I'd say. Probably, I'm guessing computer thinks it's approximately even. Maybe it likes black a tad. But no, it says white's doing well. Plus 0.3, plus 0.2. Yeah, it's about even. But the thing is, I think why would it maybe like black? I mean, black has pressure, but again, are they really doing anything? Just the E2 pawn. That's why I think black. If they didn't have this, then white would just be better. White's going to probe. But they do have a lot of weaknesses now. They look coordinated, but to what end? And mainly this, that's all they really got. They're not doubling, right? These guys have to watch out. And we do eventually, well, once we deal with this, that's what I'm saying. I would like to like go here and maybe F2 once you take the bishop. And then you can have discoveries, and then maybe you can shift the rook to D1. One of the rooks, maybe this rook goes to H1, stuff over here, double or whatever, but also pressure on D4 in some cases. So anyway, white should be doing well though because of the weaknesses in black's position. And hey, you never know. Maybe we'll get our B4 in and knight B2, and we'll come back to that D. We'll get to that finally D3 square in. But definitely black has weaknesses. A lot of times in positions like this, you'll see G4 lock up their pawns, right? We would love to have a knight on G3 then to start hopping into light squares, maybe bishop, you know what I mean? So point is that black does have more weaknesses. So have to be careful. There's that F6 move again. It happens anyway. Oh, okay. But I think this is where it kind of boils down. I think that's what happens, right? E4, trade. I think things kind of trade off. Kick the rook out. Not exactly, no. Guard this one, but four. Yeah, and you can see it's pretty
It's
even
very
now.
drawish.
Very drawish, yeah. I mean, we don't even, the only difference in pawn structure is that blacks are advanced one more. We could even meet them if we wanted to, but yeah, it's pretty drawish. I mean, the rook's in there, but it's not really going to do much. Maybe black is attack. I don't know. I just feel like black is obviously more active and white's a little more a little bit passive, but I just don't think it's enough. Let's see. No, it likes black a little bit. See, it's starting like black because I mean, the rook's in. There's pressure here, yeah. So black is definitely more active. You got to worry about the knight hopping in. White doesn't create any active threats here. So yeah, black is maybe a tad better now, as I was thinking earlier, starting to build a little bit. But again, that begins with the earlier activity. Began with that, but yeah, I mean, it ends up just boiling down.
I have no idea how to navigate this.
I mean, just kind of trading. You got a pawn, white stays active, active defense basically, and then they went a pawn back. Now we're probably pretty close. Nothing really happens, I think. Then they go for nope, no repetition. Oh, it's still tricky though because the F2 pawn, he gets F2. What happens? Oh, do we have it? No, still not giving him that. Check. Wait, what? He's gonna get the B pawn, try to win with the A pawn.
What? Yeah. Oh, maybe what?
You got to be able to stop that pawn. Well, we're threatening king, I guess C2. So he abandons it. Wait, what is going on?
Did he run out of time or something?
Oh
Oh,
no,
I
he
see.
gets the final trade. So he pulls the king away, he gets a trade, and they just they just trade everything. That's interesting though. But yeah, you see,
It
black
feels
did
like that should
get
have been a
beaten.
win. I don't know.
For
It
who? For white?
totally wasn't though. That
For
wasn't
white?
like that end game looked like it was a win.
But there were so few pawns on the board,
Yeah,
And black was up. Where were we? Black is up a pawn already.
like here
That would be a win for white.
for
or for black?
black.
Well, so let's see. It says, yeah, the computer says drawn. Three moves are drawn and some of the
Okay,
moves are
okay,
losing.
okay.
Wait, king d3? No, it's either drawn or losing for black.
Oh, interesting.
Because
Okay.
it's black's move. So it's saying if they go like king a3, well, maybe the king shoulders out the king. The thing is, though, you should be able to get these pawns.
Oh, that's true. He has the extra
And you
piece.
have
He
this
could always
pawn.
just
Yeah, and
stack his
the
knight
knight
forward.
can do stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you hold him off here, you can have a scenario where like the knight's defending the pawn from here or whatever. It's kind of like a pawn guarding a pawn. The king can't take the base
Mhm.
pawns and the front pawn, so the knight can do that. So we can try to win this pawns, knight guards pawn, and yeah, and then he's gonna have to go over there to stop it, and then we win this pawn, then we return, and we have a knight, pawn, and king. We win, right? So anyway, but he has to play this right. Well, let's see. That's interesting. He can just play it out, like losing d by g4. Just click on a
Winning,
few moves, you get a
losing,
sample of
winning,
how it would
losing.
work. Anyway,
Oh,
yeah, obviously
interesting. Okay.
nothing's happening for him. But you can see that by doing in the game here, it says everything's drawn if he plays it right. But you can say, for example, more logical move, like natural move, you think, oh, what about here? I'm back, but nothing's happening. And okay, with king
Oh, he
black.
can
What
get
about
it.
king? You might think, what about king before? I'm assuming the thing is, I'm assuming the king goes back.
Yeah, I
No,
guess he could just sack his knight and then just, yeah, head on back. Is that the
no,
story?
actually, no, actually, a3. If he goes a3, you just come here,
Oh,
and he can't get in. So I think that's not the concern. My concern would be king here, b3, and then I don't know, then maybe a knight check. So it's saying knight g6. It's actually I mean, it's actually very complicated. Oops, very complicated. Knight g6. Okay, we'll take a king b3. Oh, you can sack it then. Guys, you can sack and then come over and take it. So what
yeah.
happens then? He has to wait. Oh, he's not doing anything then. Wait. Knight g2. Well, I guess that's it. I guess we can pause the video at this point.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm recording now. I'm gonna pause the video. But yeah, we saw how
Thank you,
it works.
David.
Coordination.